Welcome to a special episode here at Beyond the Score podcast. As usual, I'm Harry. Josh is on the other line. Also, as usual, Josh, say hi to everybody.
How we doing, everyone?
Oh, look at that smile. You got a big smile today. I love it. I love it when I see that big smile. We all got big smiles. Yes. It's the holiday season. We're being festive. In South Florida, it's beautiful, and the weather is amazing. New York, not so much, but we can go on about that.
Weather hasn't been bad. Weather hasn't been bad.
Oh, my God. He always has to defend the weather in New York.
No, it's not even about New York. It's just my birthday. Normally, the weather is good, so.
And also, of course, let's not forget, it was Josh's 30th birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to Papa Wheels.
Happy birthday!
Thank you, boys.
I got a vanilla cake ready for you when I get up there. Don't worry.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, let's get right into things. We got a special one. We got in a few moments, we're going to have the Brat Pack joining us on this very special episode. So we're going to get him on here momentarily. But before we get him on here, we got to do our usual. We got to go over our picks from last week, give you guys our next week's pick. We went 1-1 last week. Josh picked the Chargers -3 against Tampa, and Tampa just blew them out of the water, and it wasn't really a game in that second half. First half was competitive, second half, Tampa just kind of ran away with that.
You don't expect to lose the second half 27-0, but I mean, I guess that's
especially when you're a team that's supposed to make the playoffs, when you're division and
at home
make the playoffs.
All right, I'm done about that game.
Yeah, anyway, so, and, Bengals for me, I know Josh keeps giving me crap about me taking the Bengals, but you know me, I love me some Joe Burrow. I had the -5 against Tennessee. They won by 10 points, so at least we go 500 on the week. We move on to next week, and I'll give you guys my next week's pick. I have the LA Rams -3 at the Jets, and that I think is going to be a lock in the bag. The Jets are, falling apart. I don't think they're playing for anything the rest of the season, and the Rams are trying to fight for whatever chance they have to be able to make the playoffs. Josh, you want to give people your pick?
Yeah, we'll ride that wave going against the Titans that you did last week. We'll go with Anthony Richardson anytime touchdown. He's got 4 touchdowns the last 4 weeks. I got to see him get 2 at MetLife against the Jets, and I mean, I think that a lot of people would say now that he's their most reliable ball carrier. For a lot of people in their fantasy players are probably pissed off right now. So
I am pretty pissed off. Luckily for me, I had a bye last week, so Jonathan Taylor was just chilling. But
humble flex.
If I was, 1 seed, I got my money back too. So I'm free rolling through the playoffs. But when Jonathan Taylor does something like that, I get a little worried, because the truth is, if he does that for me this week, it's not going to be a very successful week for me.
I thought the worry for him was injury, not tomfoolery.
Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, he could sit there and apologize as much as he wants, but truth is, you cannot do that. We've seen that happen a couple of times this season already, and in the past.
He's not apologizing to his fantasy owners. He's apologizing to his team.
No, I don't think any of them really can care less about if we're going to be able to win our first, win our championships in our fantasy football. These guys don't care about us. They care about themselves. I mean, you can't do that again. I think when something like this happens, I don't think, you'll ever allow it to happen again. If this happens again for any player, not just Jonathan Taylor, but any player, I think that deserves for you to be benched for the rest of the season. I mean, you can't do stuff like that. But let's not get there. We don't want to consider the fact that if this ever actually happens again twice to the same player, that just would be, I guess you could say tomfoolery, and then put that person's picture next to them in the dictionary, because that's what.
Hey, they're still in playoff contention. I mean, the team they're chasing is that Chargers team from last week. So being able to play buttoned up and do it the right way, you think that they could get in, but
I personally don't think the Colts have a real shot.
I know, but
every week we give them, I'm not saying we, but I'm saying in general, people, because they're, in the hunt, people say, well, something magical happens, maybe they had just as good of a chance to win the division as they did to make the playoffs, because the Texans were kind of not playing so well the last few weeks, but even just, I want to go back to that bet. I mean, I think that was plus money on that anytime touchdown on AR. I might have to even sprinkle that myself a little bit. When I say sprinkle,
I mean, a good one.
Probably be my number one bet of the week, because that sounds like a really good one.
It'll pay for your next meeting with Lil Pump.
Well, Lil Pump, we talked about that, right? You got me a little thinking over here. He was, I saw him at the casino a couple of weeks ago. But yes, that would definitely get me staked up for the
You,
next one.
you know what's crazy? I'm sorry, I just had to chime in. Another person saw Little Pump at the casino that I ran into the same day that you told me you ran into him.
Really? Same day?
Another person came in to the studio and was like, "Yeah, I was at the casino last night and I ran into." I'm like, "What time are you there?" "Oh, I was at 4 a.m." I was like, "Oh, that's what a coincidence."
Well,
It was just a weird coincidence.
that's
At
when he's
that
usually
point,
there, I
it's
think.
at that point, it's not a coincidence. If you're going to the casino at 4 a.m., that's a community.
It's a degenerate hour, that's for sure. I mean, if you're there at 4 a.m., throwing, dice or blackjack or whatever the hell you're doing over there, listen, I've done it, but he does it quite consistently. I mean, he's there a lot. It's from what I've been told. Is Lil Pump, you can find him at the Hard Rock probably a couple nights a week if he's in town. So, I mean, who was it? Someone who also records here that saw him or no?
No, it was just some. That's why it was weird. It was not someone that recorded here, but I went to go order food and they brought the food over there and they just came up and said that, and I was just like,
Really?
that's so weird because
Were they like flexing?
kinda. And they were like, yeah, he wanted to punch me in the face. Like, I was like, oh, what? He was like, yeah, I was just really excited to like see him, and he probably was going there late at night so nobody would bother him. But
Was the person that you saw, was it like a young kid?
he was a younger kid.
Was
Yeah.
he a little like punky?
I mean, he didn't seem like that when I met him or knew him from at work, but I've always seen him at work.
How old is he?
It's like 20 probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely would probably, if I saw him at the casino and I was Little Pump, I probably wouldn't really want to.
So, I mean, when I was there, I was telling you, I don't know if I mentioned this, but there was a couple of little, I mean, not little kids that were like probably 20 years old, 18 to 20 years old.
It's probably.
They were like, we want to get a picture. We want to get a picture. And he obviously was like, yeah, but Lil Pump wasn't thrilled that he was going to take a picture at.
Well, that's not obvious
3
because
in the morning.
that's not obvious because I saw Brooke Lopez at the airport and he wasn't about a picture.
Well, I mean, it was 4 a.m. and I think he, like Ben was saying, he wanted to be a little discreet. It's tough to be discreet when you're Lil Pump, when you have red dreads and you have tats all over your face. It's also very hard to be discreet if you're 7 foot tall and you're an NBA player like Brooke Lopez.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Exactly.
these guys they stand out, but that's part of the reason why they get multi-millions of dollars to entertain people, and they have an image and they have a likeness and all that stuff. So whenever we come across these celebrities or these athletes that come in front of us, a lot of times they're on their best behavior because it's part of what's going to help them throughout their career too. Because if they're an a-hole, guess what? It's going to show, and it's going to have a bad rapport on that person regardless. I mean, some of these people, they couldn't care less and they think they're the hottest shit and their shit don't stink really, and they'll start doing stuff that's in the news that we see. I mean, we can go on about what all these famous people are doing nowadays.
We'll have to ask Brat Pack if he's ever seen a Lil Pump at the casino.
Brad Pack, if he ever saw him at the casino. Well, we'll
Yeah.
ask him. Is he down here usually that often?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just saying that I
I
feel
don't
like
even know why I asked you that question. I should have just waited to ask him whenever he gets on. We'll bring him on. But before we even get into them, we want to give some kudos to the Milwaukee Bucks. Sorry, Josh, but the Milwaukee Bucks did win the second NBA Cup in-season tournament, whatever you want to call it. This foo-foo thing that the NBA decided to put together in the middle of the season to keep fans engaged. I personally am someone who loves basketball, so I'm engaged from start to finish. This for me was just like something that it's more of like a European thing that they do with their soccer tournaments and things like that, and they're trying to incorporate it here in the NBA. I couldn't care less about it. Some people love it, but it was fun to watch. It was a good game in the first half, and then it seemed like just Milwaukee they have a lot of two-way guys on that team because they have some big salaries there too, and they have a lot of guys that they got to fill out the roster with. So all of them were playing for those guys in the back end of that roster that are going to get $500,000, $514,000 to be exact, was the checks that they were going to be getting. So great job for them. They played a good game overall. I was watching it. Oklahoma City was just not hitting their threes, and I think that really just cost them. I was watching that game, and I think they shot like 5 for 30 from 3, and that was kind of what really killed Oklahoma City yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes down to it, we have Shea, and when the other guys aren't hitting shots, we get a little predictable, and we really need Jalen Williams. He's our emotional leader. I'm not saying anything about him negative, but you can tell games that they have him on lock because Shea is trying to do too much because that's kind of his running mate. I feel like a lot of guys, even if they're not both 25, 30-point scorers, I feel like you look at it that if all right, like if I'm getting clamped for a couple possessions, I'll give it to my guy to loosen things up a little bit. And he was not there, but I know that he'll get it together. He's still developing. I think he's a great prospect to be a great NBA player. And I also think that when we have Chet, it's a totally different game.
I mean, it's easy to say that, if Chet's not there, the game is much more difficult, which is true. Chet is, top 3 player on that roster, but the Thunder also won 9 out of their last 10 games. So they're perfectly fine even without him. And that's mostly because SGA is a great player. I really love Jalen Williams too. I think he had a pretty good game yesterday. I mean, watching him, he was, putting the ball on the ground, making some really tough shots, playing some
Just
good defense on
efficiency-wise.
Giannis. The efficiency was, obviously he didn't shoot well from 3, but nobody shot well from 3. I mean, everybody missed. Lou Dort was missing. He missed basically every 3 he took. I think at the end, Isaiah Joe hit a 3, and then he, came back and tried to hit another one, completely missed it. So, it's really tough in today's NBA when a 3-point shot is so crucial. Back in the day, if your team was missing threes in the first quarter, you're stopping taking threes. You'll take threes, but you're not going to take nearly as many. And now in the NBA, you can't, because when the lead gets too large in the third, fourth quarter, you need to take up threes to be able to cover up that gap, especially when you're going basket for basket. But these are 2 really good defensive teams. The Thunder are probably the best defensive team in the NBA. Milwaukee is trending up in that direction. And it shows because that game, the Thunder scored 81 points. The Bucks scored they didn't even crack 100 points either. So this was one of the lowest scoring games of the season. I'd actually like to see in terms of overall points where this ranks among the rest of the year, because I think it was like not even 180 points combined between the 2 teams. And that shows you that, defense, when the games are big and, you have money on the line here, people are going to come out and play. So you could really appreciate that, at least that, when the season gets further down the line, the games start getting a little bit more competitive and the playoffs start, coming in, and you get some bigger games coming in here, that these guys are going to step up defensively, because I believe this wholeheartedly, that defense wins you championships, not in just basketball, in any sport, but in basketball it means a lot. When you're fluent on defense, it's going to lead to good offense as well, and that's where you're going to end up, being really successful. And that's why, I and you have the Thunder in the finals, or at least in the Western Conference Finals. I think I have the Timberwolves beating them, but at this very moment, it could be, Thunder. Me, I don't change from who I pick, but I think the Thunder are showing that even without one of their best players on that team, they're going to hold their own in that Western Conference until, they get Chet back and they have their full roster ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is an example of the way the Bucks want to play. Their defense wasn't really stepping up in certain matchups, and they might have some teams that are bad matchups. They tried to force certain things, but when Damian Lillard can go 5 of 10 from 3 and only take 2 other shots, and you win a game, that's kind of what you want, because Dame is a creator. You have to respect his shot. Especially we respect his shot. So when you look at that, when he's someone that you have to keep in the back of your mind, and then Giannis is getting 19 rebound triple doubles, I think that's obviously they don't expect him to average 19 rebounds a game, but when it comes to that, I think that this is exactly the blueprint of a game they'd want to play. And I think they'd expect it, if they had their perfect game, they'd probably lay it out to be between 111 and 114, and the other team, I mean, obviously they want the other team to be at 0, but probably expect to be like 100 and 105. If they could try and mold that every game, I think that they would look at that.
That's the way you're going to be able to contain someone like Giannis too, and you can't predict him to have 19 rebounds. I actually, it's funny that we're talking about his rebounds, because I actually took his over on his rebounds last night. I just felt like, the Thunder lacking some interior defense and some pressure on Giannis was really going to affect his ability to be able to facilitate. I almost took his triple-double, and I think he was 1 assist away from getting there, so I'm kind of glad I didn't take it, unless he did hit it and I just missed it. But, in terms of the type of game, Hartenstein came out of there guns blazing in that first quarter. I mean, he was like 4 for 4 from the field. He had 8 points. He looks really good there. I will say this. I mean, I think you guys have your center that's really going to hold it down for the next 4 years. He's playing some really good basketball, coming off a tough injury too. And, him holding it down is going to be a really big part of where the Thunder are going to be able to go for the rest of the season and how deep of a playoff run they're going to be able to make ultimately. So we're going to keep a track. Obviously, you'll be on top of the Thunder mostly since you're a fan of them, but we're excited. I mean, if we can somehow magically get a Cavs finals, with the Thunder in there, whew, you and I are going to be very happy people. But on that note, we have some fantastic news. Brat Pack is in there waiting to join us. Let's get Brat Pack in here and introduce him to the Beyond the Score family. In 3, 2, there we go.
What's up, man? How we doing?
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? My computer's kind of freaking out right
We
now.
can hear you nice and clear. How's it going?
Oh, beautiful. I'm good. How are you guys?
Fantastic,
Very good.
fantastic.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining us. I mean, this was something that Josh, obviously you and Josh know each other really well, and I want him to get on here as well real quick. But, you guys have a really good relationship in terms of being Devils fans, so we wanted to make sure that we brought that following over here as well and show the rest of the world what kind of fans Devils fans are. So, Josh, say hi to your Brat Pack guest.
Yeah, what's going on, man? Happy to have you here. I know that we've been talking about doing things and talking about stuff for the Devils Islanders game. I'm repping the swag, you know how it goes. Had to do it, but I want you to tell our people what inspired you to make a Devils account in the first place. I mean, I know you've told me, but I kind of want to present it. Hopefully it gets to a super wide audience. I know you have an audience, but let's let you talk a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, it's a couple of years ago now. It's kind of weird to think about how long, it's been going on, but um so I noticed as I was scrolling Twitter one day, that pretty much on my personal account, I was literally only seeing like hockey reporters and hockey teams posting, and I was really just kind of using Twitter just to follow hockey news. And I kind of stopped seeing like my friends and my family and the normal personal accounts that I followed. And every time you'd click on, like every time the Devils would post something, if you look in the comments, it would always be like these like burner accounts, like Nico Hischier supporter or Pavel Zacha at the time, Pavel Zacha fan.
I assume they
Yeah,
don't support him anymore.
yeah. That shows how long ago this was now. And I was just like, you know what? Let me make an account like that because I'll just follow all my, hockey reporters and hockey teams and stuff like that on that account. So I can kind of unfollow them on my personal account and keep my personal account, to start seeing my friends posts again and stuff. So I made the second account and I was like, well, all the other accounts are, player based or they have some sort of like fun or like witty, like, burner, like Photoshop profile picture
Absolutely.
or whatever. So I came up with the Brat Pack, just to kind of be another burner account in the replies of the NJ Devils posts. And just followed a bunch of Devils fans, started talking to people, and I don't know, started posting jokes and memes and stuff, and kind of just became a part of the community, and people seemed to like him, and that kind of kind of just took off from there. But it was really just to follow along with the news that you can even see it in my Twitter profile, in like my bio. It says, I made this burner so I don't annoy my girlfriend at the time. My girlfriend with talking about hockey. I 100% meant that. I really just needed a second account to so that I could see her posts on my personal account again and not just Kevin
Yeah.
Weeks and Friedman and stuff.
That's
So
hilarious.
that's how it all
great.
started.
So have any other teams reached out to you to work and stand their 6th round picks to try and get that sort of potential out of them?
No, I've had a few of the more local teams reach out about because they've seen the group events we do. I've had a few teams reach out and be like, "Hey, the Devils play here too. Do you want to, bring your people here?"
That's cool.
I've had a couple of those, but no 6th round picks catching my eye right
Really?
now.
So the other teams are reaching out to you so you guys can go fill some seats for the away team?
Yeah, I've a couple of the local teams here.
Oh wow, that's I'm guessing Rangers, Islanders, maybe Flyers, things like that.
Yep, about on that track. I won't say who exactly, but
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. We don't have to put out any names and anything like that. But one thing I
Yeah.
would like you to answer though, if you can, I mean, in terms of, all sometimes you get some keyboard warriors out there. Where are they mostly coming from? What type of fans are really out in your Twitter that are giving you guys a little bit of heat?
Well, the number one rivalry for the Devils is the Rangers. In terms of pure volume, it's got to be Rangers fans. And I'll be honest, I pour gasoline on the fire a fair amount, and that's so maybe I invite it sometimes, but it's a lot of Rangers fans. I will say though, the worst that I see, maybe they're not the highest in volume, but like the the fans on Twitter that say the worst things that really kind of take it out of bounds. Surprisingly enough, Carolina Hurricanes fans. They
Interesting.
are, oh man, they are brutal. They're relentless, they're ruthless. Like it's one of those things where like, I'll post something about, let's say, the Rangers and the Hurricanes, and like a Rangers fan will reply like, "Ha ha, you're ugly, I hate you," or whatever. Where like a Hurricanes fan will reply like, "There's a bomb on its way to your house right now." Like,
Oh my God.
that's like
Those
Damn.
people
that's like
from
two
Raleigh
different
are some
levels.
crazy people over there, I'm guessing. I don't know if I ever want to go to Raleigh now.
Yeah, it's Rangers fans in volume, but Hurricanes fans are the worst by far,
So
for
was
sure.
was there like one thing that you saw that was posted that you were like, not bad, not bad at all? That one insult or that comment that you were just like, oh.
Uh, yeah, it's kind of hard to think of them off the top of my head. There's been a few, over the years that I've kind of just looked at. And it's like, you know what? I respect it. I can't even hate it. Like they're right. Um, it's hard to recall right off the top of my head, but every now and then, I mean, there's a few things that I'm very open about, vocal about, some of my own character flaws. And, there's been a few times where like they'll nail all of them in one tweet. And it's just like, ooh, we've never met, but you kind of do know me. Like, good job.
It's like,
It's tough.
are you getting information from my wife at this point? Like, because as a married man, I know that they're the first on the chirp list.
Yeah, that I don't know. Maybe it's enough people have actually met my wife over the years that everyone knows like she's real and she's a normal person, and that's really, you'd be surprised that people don't go for that. And I'm knock on wood over here that I'm not jinxing myself and they're not going to start doing that now, but I actually don't get that a lot. Um I get a lot of different things. It's usually about my own antics on Twitter. I give them enough
Mhm.
material that they don't have to go outside.
That's fair.
But I mean, every now and then you'll do get oh, like, you'll never get a girlfriend, because you're gonna live in your mom's basement forever. And it's like, I have a house with my wife. Like, we don't have to do this.
Yeah, not for sure. So do
Meanwhile,
you
usually the people who are typing that are the ones who are living in their mother's basements and
Yeah,
typing that away because they have nothing better to say.
yeah. I
100%.
I I mean, not to. I'm sure this happens a lot. I mean, it's Twitter. You don't see what someone looks like. You don't see their age. You don't see where they're from or anything. But there's been times where like I've gone back and forth with someone that'll just start insulting me in such a way that I'm like, oh, this person's still in like high school or something. Like I need to stop. I just need to stop
Yeah.
talking to this
Yeah.
person like right now because they've just like communicated to me with their insults that they're like, I don't know, 17. Like I get it now. I'm
Yeah.
not hurt by it anymore. I understand what's happening here. Just, block them and move on.
All I can say is,
No,
as an
totally.
Islander fan, and for my Islander community, we have nothing to say. So if there's any Islanders fans that are commenting away on the Brad Pack, keep your mouth shut because we are not a very
Yeah.
good team, and the Devils pretty good. I mean, they're rocking and rolling as so far in the season. They're like what 21-10 or something like that. They're on
Yeah, we
some good
finally
streak.
finally got some moxie, some muscle. So we're ready to punch people in the mouth now. I feel like the last couple of years, our main guys learned how to dodge, duck, and dive away from the hits, and now there's some muscle that okay, like if you put Jack on his ass, you're gonna be bleeding from your mouth.
Yeah, and well, especially when talking about like Islanders fans to us, it's like this year has been pretty quiet. The past few years has been tough with Islanders fans because the Islanders have had kind of this weird sense of, oh, we made it to the conference finals 2 years in a row within the last, 5 or 6 years or whatever it was. So their fans were still kind of like, yeah, no, we're awesome. We are really successful and whatnot. And this year, I think with all the collapses they had in the third period last year, kind of leading into this year and season not going quite as good, I think they're finally starting to be like, you know what? Maybe we should like chill out a little bit, be a
Maybe
little
it's time for some
quieter on
change.
Twitter.
Yeah, it's definitely been a
Yeah.
reality
So
check for us here, for sure. I mean, there's nothing to say at this point. We're just hoping that something happens and maybe we get lucky and we get the first pick and rebuild this franchise at this point.
I mean,
yeah, but they've definitely been quieter.
you gotta think about how if all those games are being lost in overtime, it's generally not gonna trend that the close games, if they're not turning into wins, like if you're in overtime a lot and you're winning, then it seems like you're going to trend up to win in regulation. But if you have what was it like 16 or 17 overtime losses last year, it's great that they're a point each, but those have to be replacing the losses, not the wins.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I personally have always hated, or not always, because it hasn't always been this way, but since they switched to the just win loss overtime loss only format, I've always hated the idea of NHL 500 because I view an overtime loss as a loss. I
Yeah.
understand that it's viewed as a like net neutral because you do get the point out of it, but I don't like recognize that because I view it as like if you're a fan going to a game and they lose in overtime, you're walking out of the arena sad. They lost the game. Like there is no like, oh, well, actually we didn't win or lose. We got a point. Like if we lose in overtime, I'm walking out going, man, they lost. This sucks. Um
Mhm.
so I've always tried to just like, when Islanders fans are like, "Oh, we're like 10-10-5, so we're 500." I'm like, "No, you're 10-15. You are 5 games below."
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you look at the Sabres last year, a good example that I actually looked it up. I'm not gonna pretend I knew the Sabres record last year off the top of my head. When you look at 39, 37, and 6, that looks like it's halfway decent, but that's under 500. It's in terms of wins and losses. And like you said, as a fan, I might be more upset if I stayed for overtime and then it's gut-wrenching loss or
Yeah.
shootout and then you just go the other team goes bang bang 1-2 and then it's over. Because
Well,
yeah,
coming from someone who's you guys are obviously much bigger hockey fans than I am. I do love my Islanders, but it's not my number one sport. I agree 100%, Brad, when you say like this whole overtime point thing. I've always thought it was ridiculous. I just thought, why incorporate this? Can I ask you guys, why is the NHL incorporating this? Why are they giving points for a tie? What's the point of this? Is it just to get more scoring? Does it make the stats look better? I mean, what is this?
So the straight up answer is because the Players Association wanted games to end faster. They had, in their contract negotiations last time around, or maybe 2 times around ago now, maybe even three. It's been a while at this point. But so games used to do, 5-on-5, 20-minute overtimes, and if it ended, they would just chalk it up as a tie. And players were basically saying, hey, we're playing like 33% of a whole nother game. We're tired. We don't want to do this. The games need to be shortened or, they need to end quicker or, there needs to be less wear and tear in general. And so the NHL, tried a few different things. But the 3-on-3 was brought about to say, okay, if we make it 3-on-3, you're probably going to score much quicker. So the game will probably just end faster that way. And if it doesn't end in like a reasonable amount of time, then we'll just do the shootout, just get it over with, we'll be done. So they did switch to 3-on-3 to try to make more overtime goals because they did want it to end in overtime rather than have to go to a shootout. But the reason that it's a shortened overtime into a shootout is simply because the players negotiated it that way because they were just overtime games ending in ties were just too much. They just wanted shorter games.
and not saying it from a place of knowledge, but I'm sure that if they would have left it 20 minutes, they probably would have wanted money for that. They would have like the argument would have been keep the overtime and get paid like you're playing another period or just
Right.
shorten it. But in terms of the overall scoring, getting a point for it, I think that that's another thing that they were looking at where they went to overtime. They don't want to leave with nothing. And in reality, that's sports. That's life in sports. I feel like when you look at wins and losses, like if a baseball game goes to extra innings, there's no point system. If an NBA game goes to overtime, there's no point system. I think that it's interesting, and I don't think it's necessarily a flaw as much as it's unique. And I think that for a team, it gives certain teams like the Islanders, they when they got in the playoffs, it was because of those losses get going to overtime. So it could be frustrating when your team's not doing it, but it could be really beneficial when it comes to seeding, who's playing closer games and all that.
I guess it definitely helps teams that play a little bit better defense and are able to, kind of neutralize what happens in, regulation and send the game off into overtime. So they want to say, well, if you're able to do that, here's a point. I still think it's weird and, yes, it's unique and different and whatever you want to call it, but I think it's almost unnecessary. It's part of hockey, though. I mean, how long have they been doing this now with the overtime points? How long? I mean, 10 years has this been the case?
Maybe a little more. I think that may have been a result of the like 07, 08 negotiations or something. So maybe like 10 to 15.
Okay.
I don't know if it came after that or not. Memory gets kind of blurry after a while.
Well,
But I would
regardless, in the
say
relatively
10 to
near,
15.
near future, near past this came out, and I mean, this is
Yeah,
relatively new.
relatively.
Yeah,
Yeah,
out of the whole history of hockey, for sure.
Yeah, you go back 20 years, like the Devils Cup team in like 2003, they were still rocking the ties.
Yeah. So I want to ask you another thing. So what do you see as the future for your account? I mean, now it's something we see Jesper Bratt's the best player on NHL Network. We see people tweeting it that have big followings, that have respect in the league. What's where do you what type of like new content or projects are you working on, if anything?
To be honest, I have kind of taken the same stance the whole time I've had the account, or at least, when it started gaining some level of attention, is my like catchphrase, motto, whatever, like mission statement is I want to do whatever is fun for everyone. If
Mhm.
people want to do it, if it would be fun, if it's a cool opportunity, whatever, I'll do it. For me, it's about kind of just giving everyone a fun experience or introducing people to things or whatever it is. I just like kind of hosting or facilitating fun. So
Mhm.
anything that comes along that I think people would enjoy, I'll do it. I'm not necessarily pursuing things or like trying to create or branch out or do certain things. I'm just having fun. I'm just gonna keep doing the Twitter game and making memes and jokes and if people reach out and they're like, "Hey, I have this cool idea. I have this opportunity to do this thing. Like, are you interested? Do you want to do it?" My answer is pretty much always yes. Um, so kind of, it's really just kind of see what comes along. I'm happy to do anything and whatever anyone wants to do.
You're
It's kind
for
of a
the
vague
people.
answer, but yeah, no, I mean, I know it's like a vague answer, but really, it's just
It's honest though.
anything. Yeah, anything that you have seen in the past that I've been able to do or offer or anything. 99% of the time, it's because someone hit me up and was just like, "Hey, I have the ability to do this. Do you want to do it?" And it's me saying yes.
That's cool. And when I was working at the Devils, you got the opportunity to have everyone on the ice, and then Jesper
Mhm.
came out. So I need
Yeah.
to know what that I need to know what that conversation was like because that was a really cool picture to see.
Yeah.
I want to know what that was like.
Yeah, so that was actually entirely our buddy Logan. I know you remember Logan who worked with you
Of
with the
course.
Devils too. He put in a request without telling me. I didn't know that that was happening. I didn't request for it. Like I just said, almost everything we've ever done has not been me doing it. It's someone else saying, "Hey, you want to do it?" and me
Yeah.
saying yes. Logan put in a request for it weeks before the game. He didn't tell me about it, and I guess it had to clear, so many levels of security, press, team ops, or whatever channels it has to go through. Um, and I think he got like the approval for it because he also got to, if he has an interview scheduled that night, or he has to say yes himself, or
Of course.
if he has other obligations. So he didn't get Logan didn't get like the final like yes he will come out like he'll attend with you guys until like 2 days before the game.
Mhm.
Um, I honestly at this point don't even remember if they told me that that was happening,
Mhm.
or if like we just got on the ice and they were just like, oh yeah, he's coming. I think they told me there's like a chance, but he made it seem kind of like 50-50, and then like when we actually got on the ice, I think he was just like, yeah, no, he's coming. Like I got it confirmed. Yeah, sorry, I'm remembering literally right now.
No, it's
That's
good.
exactly what happened. He said it was like a 50-50 chance, and then when we actually got on the ice and everyone's lining up for the picture, Logan came over and was just like, line everyone up for the picture, but we got to wait a few minutes. And I was like, wait, does that mean he's coming? and Logan's like, yeah, no, they actually told me 2 days ago he's coming. And then you just see like Jesper walking out in his like I don't know, multiple $1,000 suit walking on the ice. It was, I mean, it was one of those things where it's just like in movies where like it happens in slow motion. Like, when I saw him walking out, that was just like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then because if you remember at the time, he had he was going into that summer contract
Mhm.
negotiation, so he was expiring at the time.
Yeah.
And so when he started walking out, we had like 200 people chanting like 8 more years, 8 more years. Um, so that was like one of the coolest moments ever. Um, and then another thing I absolutely did not realize at the time was that I guess MSG Network still had their cameras like rolling.
Mhm.
They weren't like the post game show wasn't live, but they just had their cameras there.
Mhm.
So when he came out, they had filmed it, the whole interaction,
Oh, that's
him coming
sick.
out, like shaking my hand, whatever, taking the picture with us. So I did not know that. And we were watching, I don't know if it was like the next game or something, and he scored a goal. And like I don't know if it was right after he scored the goal or during intermission, they like went into like a clip and they're just like, and here's, Jesper coming out to meet like his fans at the end of the last game. And they showed the video like on
That's cool.
TV. And, and that's kind of where like, I have like millions of messages and people tagging me being like, oh my God, like, are you seeing this right now? Like it's on TV. Um, and then like the following week, they showed the same clip. They played they played in Edmonton, I think, and I always confuse it. S- ah, it's the Canadian ESPN. It's Sportsnet
The
or
TSN?
TSN.
Something like that.
It's either Sportsnet or TSN, like the
Mhm.
big one in Canada.
Yeah.
Um, Same thing. Like Jesper scored a goal, and then they showed the video again.
That's so
And I
cool.
mean, that's like national TV at this point. And again, just like the rotation kind of just kept going. People hitting me up, being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. What's this?" Um, that is all Logan. Eternal thanks to Logan. He made that all happen, and it was literally one of the coolest things ever.
What a
Yeah,
great experience.
shout out Logan
Yeah.
Kev. That's my guy. Cool dude.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
hurt.
absolutely.
This is what
We
makes
love
sports
Logan.
so beautiful when you have, you get these types of experience. You meet a sixth round player who, you don't really expect much from, but now he turns out to be one of the best players, if not the best player for the Devils currently right now. What does he lead the team in points,
Right.
right? I mean, that's
He
incredible.
does.
Him and Jack
Yeah.
Hughes seem like they're like almost identical. What I am noticing though is that the main difference here, I know their goals are pretty close, but the average time on the ice, he's got 2 less minutes than Jack Hughes, so he's really doing some incredible things out there for the Devils.
Yeah.
And I mean, it shows, right, when they're one of the best teams and, they have some of the really great talents of the NHL playing on the ice together. This is what you kind of get. And that's really great to experience things like that because we can talk about the stories of meeting players and, having them answer questions and just experience time with them, right? Get to like pick their brain for a moment, get an autograph, whatever it is, and then just like to resonate that and have that with you, and then obviously for you, have it turn into this amazing thing that grows into this huge platform for you to be able to express with other Devils fans. It's really a beautiful thing. So I mean, that's so great that you got to have that, and obviously it seems like that's probably the reason I'm gonna guess you named your X handle Brat Pack, right? It's for Jesper
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, it was. And when I started the account, it was just like a random stock image of Jesper Bratt. And really even before the account like got any like further attention, there was like an artist on Twitter who made like Microsoft Paint like cartoon drawings, and she had made Nate Bastian's Instagram picture, and it's still the same. If you look up Nathan Bastian's Instagram, his pictures looks identical to the Brat Pack picture because it's the same artist that did like the same style. Um, she, was on Twitter and was just like, "Hey, does anyone want me to make one for them?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, if you could do Jesper Brat, like I'll make that my profile picture."
I see it.
And
That's cool.
yeah, right. And she was like, "Yeah, no, of course I'll make one." And when the account started to kind of take off and the profile picture became like kind of associated with it, I went back to thank her and like recognize her and promote her, and her account was gone. I
Oh,
have
man.
no one to thank and no one to credit anymore.
Yeah, well, it's nice that you tried for sure.
So I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just threw out a name that I never heard of because I'm not, like I said, I'm not huge into the hockey as much as you guys are. But Nathan Bastian, this guy's last name is almost identical to mine. He just changed the T to an H, and we're basically brothers. I'm trying to figure out like this guy's background. I'm like, are we even like maybe possibly related? But I'm
Yeah,
trying to
no,
also
he's
see that picture too. That's that's wow. Look at that.
yeah,
that's really
that
cool.
was great.
So I
Yeah,
mean,
I
like you, I mean,
definitely
you
got one.
got 23,000 people that are following you. What's the thing that really sticks to? I mean, these guys that are following you. What's the one, I guess, piece that you put out there that people really love? Is it like trivia? What is it really that's sticking to these people?
Is it what time is it?
Yeah, that's a big one.
I love that one.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing and the biggest thing that I've tried to keep true to, and the most fun thing that I, kind of think I do is really the recurring bits. And I modeled this. If you're familiar with college basketball, John Rothstein on CBS, he has these kind of catchphrases that anytime a team wins or a certain player does well, he posts the same thing. So I'm a big Rutgers basketball fan, and he has the head coach is Steve Peichel. So every single time Rutgers basketball wins a game, John Rothstein tweets Steve Peichel pounding nails. Like that's his catchphrase, and as a fan, every single time Rutgers would win a game, I would go to his profile. I would look for that tweet. It would make me happy. I'd smile when I saw him, like, there it is, let's go. Um, so I was like, let me try to do that. Let me try to make these like recurring, like inside jokes. Like I'll make memes out of them. I'll make catchphrases, whatever it is. And the first one that really kind of like took off, that like really like, I don't know, went viral, so to speak, was there's and you've definitely seen this, but there's that meme of Grant Gustin doing like the peace sign over like the grave, like the grave plot, like he's at a funeral, and it's like him like doing the peace sign over it, and the meme is just like, like the dead person, but it like also like the like guy like, dunking on it, I guess. um
Hmm.
if you pull it up, trust me, it's a
I
lot.
just pulled it up and I didn't remember it at first, but I pulled it up and I'm like, yeah, I remember seeing this. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than I'm describing it. But so what? There was when I first, when the like I said, when the account first started getting attention, the Devils were really, really, really bad. It was, before they figured anything out. It was like the really bad season right before the really good season. Um, and there was a stretch late in the season. I want to say like 10, 15 games in a row where Jesper Bratt would score a point, like get an assist, get a goal, whatever, but the Devils would lose the game. They lost like all the games at the end of the season, but Jesper Bratt himself was playing really well. And so I would make that meme, and on the tombstone I would put like Devils lose, but on the guy like doing the peace sign I put Bratt scored a point or Bratt point.
That's funny.
So
I like that.
at the end of almost every single game it like applied, because they were losing all the games but he was scoring in all of them. So I was posting it at the end of like every single game. Like I just over and over again I would post the same meme, and it kind of hit a point where people, would start to reply and message me, be like, yo, dude, like after the Devils lose, like I come to your page to like look for that meme. Like it makes me laugh every time, or something like that. So I started doing that with like other players too. Like, when Jack Hughes started to like really break out, there was this argument of like, is he a superstar or not? Like, he's good, but is he a superstar or not? So now every single time he scores a goal, you can check the Brat Pack page. I tweet out Jack Hughes superstar every
I
single
love
time.
that.
Yeah, so
Love
I
that.
kind of came up with these like recurring like catchphrases or memes or bits or whatever. Every time the Devils win, I'll tweet out the Devils may never lose again. Every time I have like a Jersey Shore edit of Jake Allen, and I call him Jersey Jake. So anytime Jake Allen wins a game, I'll tweet out like the Jersey Shore edit, and I'll be like, Jersey Jake just GTL'd on you or whatever. Like just stupid, stupid stuff. But
Stupid but creative.
I mean, yeah, I like to think so. But it's just honestly just recycling the same things over and over again. It makes it like these like recurring inside jokes that I think, kind of contributes to like the community aspect of it. Or like last year when Lindy Ruff was the coach, I had the Jabo meter where like I literally had like a red, yellow, and green with like an arrow,
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
like whether they would win or lose the game or whatever, I'd push it like more into the green or more into the red, but and be like, oh, like this is how the coach is doing. And again, like, after each game, people would like look for, where's the jobometer at or whatever. Um, so, I just try to do like funny, stupid stuff and it just works.
Well, come
Yeah.
up with something for April 13th because that's when the Devils are going to play the Islanders in New York. We're trying to figure out something where maybe we can do an episode over there in the arena for that game where I'm there, Josh is there. Maybe we get Ben, our producer, there. We do a whole episode. Maybe we get the Brat Pack there and some of your following and kind of have a really fun time because that's what we're hoping to do, kind of do something in person. It seems like that date of April 13th might actually work, and obviously the Islanders play and the Devils play. It'll be a fun one, so maybe we can get something going on for that date.
Yeah, like I said, if people seem to want to do it and it seems like a good time, I'm always down.
And make sure you come up with a really good meme there so that we could share it all over Beyond the Score podcast and, kind of put some shame on my Islanders because they are a truly terrible team this year, at least. And for all us Islanders fans who did think that we actually did have a legitimate team when we were making those conference finals appearances, that's in the far past. And now we are in a completely different realm of hockey, but kudos to those Devils because they are rocking and rolling. Brad, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a really fun experience, coming on here,
Yeah,
sharing
thanks,
with
man.
us what you do and how well you do it. And we look forward to, getting back on here, maybe seeing you on April 13th. We'll do something fun then and, get some stuff going for that as well.
Absolutely. No, I really appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you. Kind of what I've been saying this whole time. Like, I really enjoy getting to talk with, you guys and anyone that is cultivating any sort of community or producing any sort of content or, making anything that makes someone smile or laugh or any of that good stuff. So I really appreciate what you guys do and I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of it.
Go to
Absolutely.
on X at the Brat Pack 63 is where you'll be able to find them for all us BTS fans who would like to go check out some amazing Devil stuff.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Thank you again, Brad, and we look forward to seeing you in the near future. I know you and Josh have a good relationship going back and forth.
Are you saying Brad or Brett?
I'm saying Brad.
Oh, my name's Brian. It's all right.
I
You know what? It's.
I'm so bad with names. I
told
said
you.
Brat. I said Brat. I'm like, you know what? It's got to be close to that, and I just
figured.
assumed Brad. But Brian,
That is not a problem, man.
Brian, that I promise you will not be forgotten ever again. Now that I've been put on the spotlight on my own podcast, so now I will never forget that. And you can
Even if
make me
it's
into a
slow.
meme. Be like the guy
Yeah.
that called me Brad on Beyond the
Yeah.
Score podcast, and I'll get
Slowly
some
went-
blown up.
It started as Brett, and then it started to slowly get
Yeah.
to Brett.
Just
So-
just
It
don't let
evolved.
them know that I'm an Islanders fan, so that I don't get brutalized
Yeah.
by your fans.
Yeah.
But thanks again, Brian, and we look forward to catching up in the near future.
Awesome. Yeah, guys. Whenever we can work it out, I'm more than happy to come back. I do appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Absolutely. Hope you guys have a good night.
You too, man.
Too.
Josh, we got some great stuff cooking on this episode. We covered our picks. We covered some NBA with that cup game between the Thunder and the Bucks. We got Brat Pack in here named Brian. Do not get that wrong.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted
No,
to-
I'm glad you did. You know what? You got to put people on the spot because when they're wrong and they're just putting out the wrong stuff, I'm calling the guy Brad. His name's not Brad. You got to let me know. Be
Maybe I
like,
meant it a little
the
bit.
guy, good, because the guy's name's not Brad. His name is Brian, and he runs a very good page that takes into consideration all the Devils fans. And, us Islanders fans, we got to figure something out because we got to get on that level. Talent-wise, I'm talking about team-wise because we suck. And maybe we can figure
Maybe you
something
need
out.
a page like that. Maybe you need a page like
Maybe.
that to cultivate a fan base.
Maybe if there was an actual fan out there who really cares enough to do it, maybe they should get on it. So any of us Islanders fans over there, it's not going to be me. I do this. This is what I
Justin
do.
Melnitsky, where you at though?
Justin Melnitsky, yes, we gotta, and we'll get him on here too. We'll have
Yeah,
him
for
talk
sure.
about some Islanders. But on that note, obviously, we've had a great episode here. We're so thankful for our guests. We're so thankful for our viewers and everyone that comes and joins us and spends 40 minutes of their day watching us. We really appreciate it. It's the holiday season, so we are wishing everyone a happy holidays from our homes to your homes. And, of course, you can't forget we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, we're all on Instagram.
Apple
Where else?
Podcast.
Where else are we on, Josh? Let them know where they can subscribe and tell us that we're crazy.
Yeah, Apple Podcast. I mean, we're on TikTok, not in terms of the actual episodes, but in terms of the clips. We're definitely getting that rolling, getting a little more consistent by the week, trying to make sure that we have good content that's also interesting. That's why sometimes we're figuring out the patches, but we're gonna have stuff every day. Starting right now, you can call me out on X, Instagram, whatever. If you don't see a post, Matt texts me when he doesn't see a post because he loves dropping those questions. And I apologize that Matt, we didn't get to your question this time, but we have it saved for next time. Maybe I'll answer it on social this week.
Maybe we'll do that. Exactly. On that note, we're going to wish everyone a happy holidays. Let's not forget the best part of our show, our famous yogiisms. And for this week's yogiism, here it is. I can't think and hit at the same time. Thank you
Makes a lot of
guys.
sense.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Beyond the Score podcast. And we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, as next week is the first night of Hanukkah and Christmas. So again, everybody, happy holidays, and we look forward to seeing you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you.